So you've been on this Lifetime movie. Tell me how that's going.
Thanks
What's it
for
been?
asking,
Two
man.
weeks?
Yep, tomorrow's my last day. I think I mentioned last time it was super dope working like with these actors that are pros. Like, even if they're kind of, I mean, you could say is a negative way of putting it, has-beens. Like they were big like 15 years ago or whatever. Now they're just doing these little Lifetime movies.
Yeah.
They still know how to make a scene interesting. They just don't lose it. They have that star quality. They really know how to just engage and listen, and so their standards high. It becomes when you're working with them, it becomes not about the lines or one thing or another. I mean, it is, but the script truly is like a blueprint, and now it becomes about like you're living, engaging, and just like it's just happening in real time right in front of you, which is obviously how it felt on our short films as well and stuff.
Yeah. So you felt yourself keyed into just the flow of the moment. You were really present.
Yeah, like they would say something and you just genuinely have to make sure that you're like engaged with that, reacting
Because
how.
they're at that level and you're feeding
Yeah,
off of that.
for I mean for it's so funny, dude. You probably didn't know there's TV show Sister Sister on Disney Channel.
Yeah, of
There's
course I know Sister Sister.
Ian Tierra Mari, the mom from it, who
Oh, no
on a soap
shit.
opera now. Yeah, she's in this. She does a ton of movies with this director.
Mhm.
And I had two scenes with her, three scenes, and I was just like, dude, this is the mom from Sister Sister. She's had such a high level on,
Bro,
uh,
that's a crazy thing when you get in that, like, having that opportunity of growing up with someone, seeing them on the screen, and then
mhm.
playing opposite them must have been surreal.
It is. I've gotten to do it a few times now too, somehow, fortunately. And it's so funny because they're all like so humble. And it's different than being like starring in a movie with uh like Liam Hemsworth right now or something.
Yeah.
It's people that were like, working actors that are like, just they've gotten it done. They've worked with everyone, and yet they still turn out successful, having a career. She's on a soap opera now and stuff. But you just know that they have a lifetime of experience, so they have a standard, and they've seen it all, and they've come out on top or in some capacity.
Do you
And
get
they're
the
still.
sense that they have no patience for someone who's such a novice
Well,
or who's
that's what
not
I
prepared?
feel when I get near them. I'm like, oh my gosh, I really have to. I'm fortunate that now I feel like I know what I'm doing,
Mhm.
which is, it sounds almost arrogant with like something creative, because just when you feel like you do,
That's not arrogant at all, dude. It's just saying you're prepared.
straight up, I feel prepared, but also like I used to be prepared and I'd show up and things would just somehow come out well or fine. Like when I did a showcase, but I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing with
Mhm.
acting. Now it's like I know what my North Star is, which is just trying to create
That's
this
great.
vision, bring it to life in the best possible way.
That's
I don't
great.
care how I do it. And I also know that like if you just follow the inspiration and don't get caught acting like we talked about. I can't get caught thinking about a pose or something that I had the idea about, or this idea or that idea or whatever. Like, and you try that stuff and sometimes maybe it does come off funky or false, but the main thing is, like Hugh Grant says, Hugh Grant is such a natural actor, and he says he loves his backstory. He comes up with all of it, but then on the day of, you kind of have to, let that stuff go for the most part. You might try stuff, but and you just genuinely act off what feels authentic in the moment to that story.
Mhm.
What would be happening for those characters in that moment, or what did the director tell you and try to make it real? And so even with her, like I flubbed a line on my first time or whatever, and even when I did that, like it's fine. But once you get going again, you have to just genuinely like be doing what that character would be doing in that moment. Like I'm like really relaying the information to her, then she says something and I'm genuinely reacting to it and like processing it, and you
Mhm.
get really specific and like nuanced about how you choose to play the part too, which is fun. And then, bro, I also remembered like some big movies that I've been watching lately and stuff. I've been watching Anatomy of Scandal on Netflix, and it's like really well done. And it's a David E. Kelly show, like the guy from Big Little Lies. And I've seen these actors get, we remember actors that are great for having such specific moments that
Right.
pop, that capture real life in detail. And I had to tell myself, give myself permission to be able to do that intricate little stuff in not for the effect, but in ways that are very heightened and stuff, because that in my scenes, because that is what we end up loving afterwards. Yeah.
That's adding that extra layer of complexity there,
Yeah.
because it sounds like you have that core confidence in what you're doing. And that also, did that just come from experience? Did that just come from
Right.
doing it a lot?
Experience, then you do it, then you watch something that's good, or you watch real life and you say, how can I incorporate all of this stuff in my
Right.
performance? And then one day when you're actually, and then you forget about it, like, and you go through 6 scenes and you don't do anything about it, but then one scene you're like, oh, I remembered that thing, and then it came to my life, like, oh wow, this is an inspirational moment. Keep going. Where the alternative is sometimes just getting out your lines and just blah, 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 and not thinking about it at all, which is like, maybe it feels honest, whatever, real, but being able to like really breathe through it, find the intricacy, the details, kind of, in a sense, chew up the scenery, really feel yourself, get into that little confident. Sometimes that can be bad and you could over milk it, but it's just another area to explore.
A lot of people have that itch to be an actor or like be a creative and whatever. And it's like they cut themselves off because they have that fear of failure. But it's like you're gonna suck the first several times that you do it. But it's like the more that you do it, and I feel like the best actors and the best directors and writers, they're always trying to improve. And I feel like the first improvements that you make in your career, just like your craft in general, it's like these big swoops of, like, you can see it. It's this tangible thing. Like you're much more in control of your dialogue, or you're really listening more intently. It's like these big gains. It's just like when you first start working out. Like if you're a hard gainer, you've never worked out. I'm talking about myself. When I was like 14 and I started working out, it's like, bro, like the amount of muscle I put on in like the first 6 months was insane. But it's like the more of this that you work at and try to perfect and just get better and better at it, it's like turning a screw. It's like each turn of the screw, it gets harder and harder. But that's the difference that separates like someone who's really good at their craft and someone who is like excellent at their craft. And I think those final few like twists of the screw are the most important. But you only get there by the experience. And it sounds like you're already like far along down that road.
Thanks, bro. I had, some scenes, also some younger actors who are very good. Also, they're starring in the movie. They had a couple moments where they almost fumbled, like, in this might have even been rehearsal, but now I'm so in tune with what I'm trying to do that even when they fumble or something, I know exactly what to do to keep the thing on track, to drive it,
Wow.
keep it real, to keep it real, to keep
That's
it.
dope, man. That's like, and I've heard of like Jack Nicholson is my favorite actor of all time, right? And like
Yeah.
Jack is in such control of himself and the entire scene and the entire moment that he like will just pull some prop out that like he brought to set because he
Yeah.
knows how to bring out this now unpredictable. I feel like he's had so much experience and he's so gifted at his craft at this point that he's like, he just kind of wants to challenge himself and almost see like add in this chaos to the scene because he is in such command of it. And it's like having that ability, what you're saying, if someone's flubbing a line or like, being able to catch that person and still make it a very interesting, compelling moment.
Totally.
That's an amazing place to be.
My dad just saw funny you say Jack Nicholson. My dad brought him up today too, because said he was watching Terms of Endearment or something from the 80s.
Yeah, it's one of my
Like,
favorites.
totally. There was a scene where Nicholson's in, and he's like, my dad, first thing he thought was, wow, this scene could have been so, just kind of typical, kind of expositional on the page. And Nicholson makes it so stylistic and intense and stuff just instantly.
Mhm.
And, it's got to fit the tone of the movie and everything. You're not just trying to like throw a pie in a horror movie and, make something shocking, but a good actor tells the story in the best possible way. And there's no small parts. And, yeah, for me, when I say that, I was like kind of figuring out how to drive the scene. I just, rather than letting it turn into like a fumble or something, I saw it, and you figure out how to like use that to bring it to life in the most interesting way.
Right. It's like playing football. Like, you have enough experience at that point to know exactly like where the ball is like about to head before they even throw it. It's
Yeah,
like, and
bro.
that just comes with experience. And
I I always think psychology. What would be happening? The
Right.
psychology of the scene. What's it
Right.
really about, and how do we keep it in that genre?
Those are the best actors to work with. Like from a director's standpoint, it is my responsibility to take what's on the page and then lift that and elevate that and make that interesting. It's like the blueprint is obviously the script, but then it's
Yeah.
my job to have a vision on that to be able to take that to the next level. But then on top of that, of the vision that I have, it's then the actor's responsibility to take what is on the page and what I'm feeding them to, and even take that up an additional notch. And if all of those things are like resting on each other, that's what makes for the most compelling moments.
I know. And I had the thought today of, hey, if you're doing a TV show or a soap opera and you're working all the time, and the actors have a hand in creating the characters because the writers are there and they're sculpting it. But then once you're on it for 5 seasons, now they're writing for you. They're thinking like, hey, how's this actor going to perform it and stuff. And I almost wonder, like, you got to think about acting from that standpoint. That was like another little tool that came into my mind. It was like, what if, you were creating the character and you're there, you're in the moment, and you have all this context behind you, backstory, and then literally it's just like, hey, that the writer told you, hey, today, there's gonna be a drama with this or that, but like getting into just that freedom and just being able to like, so what does it come down to in that moment? It comes down to reacting truthfully to what
Mm-hmm.
happens
Mm-hmm.
in real time
Yeah. And each
and
take that you
connecting.
do, each
And
take is
what?
going to be different. If you're truly doing that, each take is going to be different, because even if you have a scene partner who is delivering, like if you have a scene partner who like delivers the same line the same way, which is like what you shouldn't do as an actor, but if that's the situation you're given, even if you have different takes and that's what you're given, it's like the energy around the room is shifted. There is going to be like a difference in the twitch of like
Yeah.
that actor's eye that's playing opposite of you. Like there are all these different things. So if you're truthfully reacting in every single moment, then you're going to be coming up with these different nuances and different like colors on the performance, which then if you're doing that for every take, that is like an editor's dream, because they can then pull and take from like the best moments for you and make you look like the dopest actor, because it's like they're not going to be using Duke's performance from take 4 for this entire thing. Maybe they will if you were really fucking
Right,
good,
right,
but
yeah,
like also they could pick and choose like the best part from the beginning from take 2 and then that end from like take 5. It's like that's how you're constructing an Oscar worthy performance, is just by giving up all of these different nuances each take.
totally. That, like on my Netflix thing or whatever, where I had that one scene that was comedic. I did though make sure to do it the same way because I thought like, hey, if I do it differently, then who knows what take they're gonna end up using. And I got to make sure that this very like specific way that I'm playing this comes across. So I kind of did it the same way every time. But I also thought to myself like, because
I mean, doing it like when I say doing it the same way, it's like I think like as an actor, obviously you have your own take on their performance, and it's like there's some sort of intention or thing that you want to put across. But what
yeah,
I'm saying is like some actors, some newer actors, greener actors will have a certain way that they've practiced saying the line every time with like that's soulless. And then they'll just repeat that every single time. And bro, especially if and here's the thing, like you can also do that and like that's totally fine. But
it's a
if
balance. Yeah.
right, right. But if I like as a director, if I then come in and I'm like, listen, like love what you're doing, whatever, like pat it with compliments, right? And then I'm like, listen, but I think we can take this and kind of pull it a little this way, this way. The better you are at making adjustments to my direction, obviously my direction has to be specific and clear and concise. But
Mhm.
when it is, if you can't take that direction and make those adjustments, that's fine the first time. But then if I step in for the third take and I'm like, listen, let's really come on, try to do this. I try to paraphrase it a different way. You still don't get it. That is one of the most frustrating things, because then it's like, I'm in this situation where I'm like, well, fuck, like this actor doesn't understand how to take direction. Now I'm going to have to switch up, like, in order to cover this part of their performance that isn't working, I have to switch up the
Yeah.
camera moves and all this extra shit. So it's like, I don't know. I just
Well,
basically all that's to say is like I love actors who can take direction.
of course. It also gets underrated in my opinion is literally being able to like, you have to act in that sense, like you don't know what's going to happen next, even though you do.
Yeah.
We forget like that's
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
biggest thing. But a lot of times, what takes care of that problem is if you truly are like trying to ground yourself in like the situation. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm a lawyer. This is my mom. She
Yeah.
just got attacked. Someone just put a bomb there. This is
Mhm.
my girlfriend, and that's all. How and if you
Yeah.
do that and you try to just you ground yourself in the bullet points, then sometimes you just connect to that.
You know what I feel though? 90% of actors are underprepared in that they're just thinking of their next line. Most actors, I feel, don't get past that
Hard to get
point of
away.
like,
It's hard to get away from that.
yeah, of
But
course. I mean, especially, dude, if you're on a soap opera or if you like, you know, the
yeah,
pages keep changing on set.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, obviously, yeah, do whatever you can with what
But
you're
you're saying the
given.
goal. You're saying the goal
The
for a good
goal, the absolute goal. I think the best performances come when you are completely prepared to the point where it's past the lines, it's complete rote memory to where you have the confidence then to be like, okay, I can completely let go.
Yeah, I also lately it's fun getting into this movie because now I have like super lovely experience getting to try a bunch of stuff when it matters. I read the other people's parts from their point of view and then see how like I visualize my part in my mind.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then
Empathizing with the other characters.
with the other characters. And then
Yeah.
that a lot of times just gets inside me. Like
Nice.
goes nuts.
That's interesting. Dude, I love how you're trying all these different things because you're also going to land on a process that's really working for you. You also, it's like good to continue, even when you're confident in your process, to continue to try to like,
Dude, you
you
never
know,
have it one
keep
way, obviously.
experimenting. Yeah.
Yeah. Because on the day of, whether it's impressions, whether it's that, whether it's like you have this little like series of things to try to like spice things up for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If we can pivot real quick,
Jeez.
bro, this morning, I rendered a short film that I've already brought up here. It's called The Waiting Room. Truly, as it's formed now, I have it in its final form. This is the first time that I've ever made something where I'm like, this is my calling card, where I can look at something and be like, this is me as a filmmaker, which
Oh,
it
no.
took like fucking 55 shorts to get to that point. But it's like everything came together to the point where it's like we had shot this thing, we had a great location, but there was a moment that wasn't working. And so I found this like creepy tunnel. We got a door that we like transported in our car, set up. It's like it took so much work behind the scenes to get this visual that looks so fucking good. But it's like, bro, yeah, I'm stoked about it. It's like, and I think every director should really, work until they have something where they can be like, this I can send to an executive at a studio, or I can send to my friend, or like whatever. And it's like across the board,
Calling
you're
card.
just proud of it. Yeah, it's your calling card.
That's yeah, it's amazing. I would think that you'd have a few of those, it would seem by now,
Thanks,
but
brother. I appreciate that. But
yeah.
obviously, like, you're most critical of your own work. So it's
Mhm.
like, for me, this is the first time that I'm like, yeah, like all the elements lined up, which is cool.
That's
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
The waiting room. How's that one was one of the ones that blew up, right?
No, I haven't released it.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm thinking at this point, probably best to go like the festival route with this one, which is usually what I don't do because I'm like, I'd rather spend the money just making more stuff instead of like submitting to places. But I feel like this one's worth it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, dude, that's huge. Um,
How's the Duke of the Valley coming? Any progress with that?
Thanks for asking. No progress. I should have asked my dad today. Like, we should just throw it on YouTube and tell Caitlyn Jenner to promote it.
I mean, dude, we talked about it today. It's like glossy as fuck, really high production value. You've got
Yeah.
Caitlyn Jenner in it. Everything there, it has all the elements, bro. It's really funny. And it's like humor is one of the hardest things to nail. Even like, bro, horror is hard as fuck to get, where it's like so hard to be scary. But I would argue that like comedy is even maybe a step above that, where it's like to get a lot of people to laugh at something.
You're right. They're both tough. Dude, so many bad comedies, so many bad horror films, obviously, too.
Yeah. It's like,
Um,
I think it takes the most for comedy and horror. It's like the most technical. Like you have to,
yeah,
there are so many things. It's like all kind of rhythm and timing. And it's a craft that it's like you only get through a lot of experience, but you guys got it, you know? And it's
you
that
got it. Yeah.
specific Van Patten flavor that I always talk about. It's like,
High mentality, baby.
yeah.
No, we got that. It's funny. I feel pretty good about it though, because actually the YouTube option, I think something fun would come of that. But I'm also ready. Like, I feel like it's one of those things. Like, if it just gets in the right hands, someone will be like, "Oh, where was this hiding?"
But maybe, yeah. What if YouTube came first and then that's what put it in the right hands, you
Exactly.
know?
Exactly.
Bro, the power of audience is insane, truly.
Yeah.
Like the only reason why I'm delivering shorts every single week. And these are not calling cards because it's impossible to make calling cards like, bro, the waiting room took something like 5 months from start to finish to make it like to its final form. But like the reason I'm doing it weekly is because it's just progressively building my audience, even if it's not the truest like example of myself as a filmmaker. I think if you put something like that out, you have someone with a huge social following. If you put it out in the right way and kind of maybe drop the trailer first, get some interest,
I
some
know.
buzz on it, maybe
Yeah.
contact some news outlets, whatever.
Mhm.
I feel like that's kind of the way to go.
I freaking do too. That type of thing.
And how
You're so
exciting would that be, bro? You've been sitting on this thing for a while now, and it's like
no, it's egregious. Like I'm just
egregious. Good word.
egregious. Yes, yes, one of my vocab words. Um, yeah. So we'll see. Have you gotten and then value mentality? Obviously, we're
Of
so
course.
freaking excited about. Dude, our buddy, that's like a huge part of it. He's going to be our creative director. Basically, he just got an article written about him in Rolling Stone magazine.
Holy shit, dude. About the product, or is he like doing
No,
other
no,
stuff?
no. About him because he's Shawn Mendes' creative director.
Well, come on,
I know,
dude.
I know, and literally like he's our boy. Like he's such a good dude, and we're shooting photos and this commercial with him on Tuesday. It's looking like that.
Damn, bro. You're bringing in models and stuff for the commercial
Yeah.
or what?
I mean, my partner with it, Tanner, his girlfriend's model, and we're using her because she's amazing and stuff.
Cool.
And but they're getting hit up by all these models, like I told you, saying like, "Hey, we'd love to do any, represent it," but
It's the Firefest effect, but it's actually legit.
we would love to be the Firefest of the Valley. I was in the Valley with my grandmother and my dad, and we went to dinner, and I was wearing the hat, my grandmother was wearing the hat, and like as we're, which is amazing in his own right, but as we're leaving, like the guy is like, "Valley mentality."
Yo,
Like my dad was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be
it's
big."
catching.
It's catching now. We're seeing the legs.
Dude, I feel like I mean, are you thinking about kind of having like a slow release, like first in the valley, like making it really fucking strong in the valley and then spreading it out? Or is it more like kind of just dropping?
Our options are, which we wanted to do first, was have that pop up stand,
Yeah.
sell all inventory that I have right here in the valley at this cool place where the old Sportsman's Lodge used to be. And now there's an outdoor mall there and there's an Erewhon. That's where I was at today for dinner, and the people were like freaking out about it. It's the audience is perfect for it, but that might be a little tricky to do. We might not want to do that first, so we might literally just put it online next week once we have the photos in this commercial, drop it all at the same time, sell it out. My partner thinks he can sell it out in 2 seconds because he's big on Instagram, and I don't doubt it. And then do the pop up kind of like after. But pop up it'd be a great experience. It'd really launch it, and it'd be great to get it to people that like might not see it on Instagram.
It's also close, dude. It's like everything's just, right at the edge.
Right at the freaking edge, man. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. Yeah. No, yeah, this is
It was
big. And
nice living in obscurity, dude. You got to
yeah,
relish this moment because it's not going to be like this.
I do kind of feel that way. I do kind of feel like, wow, you gotta, it might sound ridiculous, but you gotta not be surprised when
You and I, a few months in the future, are going to be regretting how we didn't take full
soak
advantage of this
up
time. Yeah.
being a food
Soak up
runner
the
at the Rose.
obscurity. Exactly.
Being a food runner at the Rose. Dude, they're already, since I've been like having to take days off for this Lifetime movie, they're like, dude, where are you? Like, what have you been doing? I'm like, I'm doing this movie. And they're like, oh, like, so you're done working, right? I'm like, not making that much money. Like, oh, they're like kind of bummed. They're like, they want me to like, they
Right.
think that I'm like,
Yeah.
doing bigger things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they want a little inspiration.
Bro, that's what everyone wants, do it for your people, your country, do it for your name, Hall of Fame.
For your honor. Exactly. So what do you got coming this next week, man?
Next week, got a few things in motion. This waiting room thing, I'm going to be sending out to a few people. I've got, obviously lining up this feature in July and figuring all that stuff out. And yeah, dude, just a lot of stuff coming. Working nonstop. And one last thing too.
Yeah.
I finished the outline for the Fisherman feature, which is like my most successful short.
Okay,
And
nice.
my producing partner loved it. He gave me some really good notes. And I'll be going to like actually scripting that thing out. So yeah, hopefully moving to phase 2 of that.
LFG, baby. I love it.
Yeah.
Dude,
How about you?
Just finished out this movie, and got a lot going on. Doing this photo shoot for Value Mentality on Tuesday.
Yeah, of course. I
Yeah.
want to I want you to keep me posted on like the Duke of the Valley too. Just like hearing what the next steps with that is going to be.
I know. Thank you. It's gonna be something great about to pop, bro.
It's coming.
It's coming.
We're gonna be looking back at this episode and be like, holy shit.
That was 2 days before.
Yeah. Right.
It just took off. All right, brother.
Keep the hustle game strong, bro.
I know you
coming.
will. You know it.
All right, dog. Have a good night. Talk soon.
Sounds good.